Hey everyone, Stephanie here, coffee drinker, book lover, and reviewer of many things. And today, I have a book review for you. The Lake House by Beth Drust. Funny story, I have already made this video before. So first, if you hear noises in the background, my kid is watching 20 Stories for Springtime. Yeah, we know it's summertime, but it's cute stories like Little Chicken and the Red Hen and, you know, springtime. She thinks they're fun. She's watching that. Anyway, so I had already recorded this video, and I realized that the video was like an hour and 30 minutes long because I kept stopping because I kept forgetting what I was saying because I was dealing with the kiddo and I was like in my head, and so I kept saying this here, but I was supposed to say it here, and I was bouncing around, and I don't really make a script, but I kind of want to stick to like chronological order for the book, and it was a mess. So that being said, I'm going to jump into my review. I absolutely loved this book. I loved it. It was a Teen Harper book. I listened to it. It was on the 2024 reading challenge. It's the 14th one down. I recently went in and made it so that there's a checklist. It's like little boxes that you check off now instead of numbers. So it's down here. And so much happens in this book. I want to start off by saying I listened to this book and I'm kind of, I'm gonna have to get the actual book now because when I really like a book, when I listen to it, I want the book in book form as like a trophy, but also so that I can be like, oh yeah, I really like that book. And I can pull it down whenever I need something that I know is good. Audiobooks, it's like you scroll through your list. Let me tell you how many books are on my list. There are 145 titles. And I've listened to more than that because, you know, sometimes they have the ones that you don't have to download to listen to. So, yeah. Anyway, so The Lake House by Beth Drust. I want to specify that that's the book that I listened to because there are several different books out there called The Lake House. Anyway, this book was 9 hours and 9 minutes long, and I'm going to read the summary first, and then I'll jump into more info. How about that? It says, Claire has grown up, triple-checking locks, counting her steps, second-guessing every decision. It's just how she's wired. Her worst-case scenario never actually comes true, until she arrives at an off-the-grid summer camp to find a blackened, burned husk instead of a lodge. And no survivors except for her two other late arrivals. They're late because of bad weather. Reva and Mariana. When the three girls find a dead body in the woods, they realize none of this was an accident. Something is hunting them. Something is hiding in the shadows. Something won't let them leave. And, I remember, I'm just going to tell you, if you've been watching my videos, I read You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Caitlin Barron. And it was one of those camps that you go to see if you can survive. And so when at first I'm like, oh no, like these girls were left here. So when we first open up on this book, they're on a boat, or a little boat, and Claire is in her mind panicking, going through all of the scenarios that could happen to cause her to die, such as falling off the boat and hitting her head on the way and then drowning, even though she has a life jacket on. The life jacket not being properly on, and her just bloop into the water, getting sucked under the boat and getting cut up by the propeller and other things. But on the outside, she's just like checking to make sure everything's connected. And you find out that, you know, you find out there's two other girls on this boat and a boy, and the boy is roughly their age. And I was like, oh, cool, this is his summer job. He does this every year. Yeah? No, this is the first time that this camp has been open in like 20 years or so. 25 years? I don't remember how long. But it was like a chunk of time. They're trying to reopen. And he is porpoising the boat, which I didn't know what that meant until the character Mariana explains it in the book. It's when you're hitting the waves at a weird, like, causing more waves behind you, and it's like kind of really bouncy. Apparently you can fix that by changing the throttle or something like that. I didn't understand that, but the fact that she knew that, I was like, it's cool though. Like, I was like, okay, girls can know stuff. We can. We know lots of stuff. Then we meet, that's Mariana, and then Reva is very, like, deadpan, one syllable, like, goth girl. She's my favorite character. Anyway, so when Mariana is like, the boat's porpoising, and Claire only heard porpoise, and she's like, no, there's no porpoise here, and she spouts off the encyclopedia knowledge of where you can find porpoise. And Mariana's like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. She's like, this girl's crazy, and after she handles Jack, and I was like, how does Jack not know that? We know that Jack is from the area, because for some reason we know he's from Maine. Oh, this is based in Maine. And they are told that they have to either boat to the dock for the camp or fly in for the camp, because there's no roads leading to the outside world. And I was like, well, that seems dangerous. What if somebody gets hurt? How are the ambulances and the fire department supposed to get there? Whatever. Okay. Maybe it really is a survival camp. That's what's been going through my mind. So they get there, and they're standing on the dock, and Jack is like, I need my life jackets back, and if you just follow the path, you'll make it to camp. And they're like, whoa, you're not going to walk us to camp, like, we're supposed to just go alone in a place we've never been. And he's like, I'm not supposed to get off the boat. And so they're like, okay. And Claire is like, I'm still on the dock. I could still fall and get, drowned. But she takes off her life jacket and hands it to him, and then walks fast to the land. And they start walking, and he goes away. And they're talking about random stuff that teenage girls talk about. And then the air starts getting like, ugh. And Claire's like, weird. Shouldn't it be fresh air? We're in the middle of nowhere. And then they get to the camp. And it's smoldering. It's just blackened and still smoking. And my thought was, how did they not see it when they were in the boat on their way up? I mean, I know there's trees, but the smoke would have still been like coming out of the, because it's in a clearing, so it would be like a chimney. And they take off running back to the dock, trying like they're gonna be able to get Jack's attention after he boated off. Like that, I was just like, oh, he's already gone. You can't get him. So it's getting dark, and they're like, okay, we'll sleep here, and then in the morning we'll go back and find something to get water in, because you can't drink. Claire told them, you can't drink the lake water because of all of these things that could make you really sick and possibly kill you. And they're all like, thanks. And there's this, Claire starts realizing that she's being really negative, so she starts not saying things, and Rava goes, you can say it. Say what you're thinking, Claire. And yeah. But Rava's my favorite person in the whole, like, out of all of the characters, because she will be like, she's like, okay, so when I made my last video that was super long, I was going off the notes that I took. I deleted those notes, and there was like 4 pages of the notes. So, and that wasn't even the whole book. Okay, like, so this book is so packed with inspirational stuff and like gruesome, like, oh, would I want to do that? But it's still PG. So like, if you have a teenager and you want him or her to read this, it's safe. There is a gunman. They find a dead body. Mariana finds a dead body in the woods because she has to pee. And so they had made their plan about going back and, seeing if they can find anything to hold water in to boil it. And one of them is like, how do you know how to make a fire? And she's like, it can't be that hard. I've seen movies. Well, it was a bit harder than she thinks, but they're like eating the little bit of snacks that they had in their bags, and Mariana's like, so what do we do if we have to pee? And Rava literally is like pick a tree, and she's like, oh. And Claire was like, just don't wipe with poison ivy, and she's like, that's good advice if I knew what it looked like. And she's like, just don't pick any leaves that are in 3s. She's like, I'll just, yeah. So the next day, they get up and they do what they said. They go to, Rava and Claire go to the camp, and Mariana goes to where the little air strip is, so that, where the plane is supposed to land, and she does an SOS sign in rocks on there, while the other 2 are looking for jars or a pot or, something to get some water in. And it's slim pickings. Like, Claire starts thinking, if they're reopening, they didn't do very good renovations, because there's like nothing in this kitchen. And I know not everything was plastic, because there's no like melted plastic. They find some glass jars and a manhole in the ground that was buried. which they have to investigate, of course, because this is a thriller book. They have to investigate. So Reva and Claire go down. Mariana is supposed to be standing guard. And this is when I started thinking that this is like one of the survival camps, and maybe Mariana is in on it. And I found it's not. Spoiler, it's not a survival camp like that. They are surviving, but it's not a game. They go down there, and they find a great big cage. And Claire's like, this is for bears, right? And Raven's like, a man-sized bear. And she's like, maybe they had illegal dog fights. And they speculate on it for a little bit, and then they turn, and there's this big cave. And Raven's like, you want to go explore? And Claire's like, nope. And they go back up the ladder. They're like, we're out. They find they take their jars and they collect put their water in the jars, and they're trying to start a fire. Starting the fire bit, it takes a whole day, and it's kind of like, because I would be in the same situation. Claire's like, I know that there's a certain rock that you're supposed to look for, and then you strike your knife against it and it's gonna spark. And she's like, but I don't know which one it is. So they spend all day taking, like, her and Reva take turns striking different rocks. And Reva finally gets one to spark, and she's like, oh. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna get closer. And when she strikes it again, the knife breaks because it's a little pocket knife. And Claire's like, that's okay. We'll do the stick one. We'll try the stick one. And so Claire, for a little bit, and Raven's like, let me try. Oh, stop staring at me. Go do something else. And Claire comes back with some wood. At the same time, Mariana comes back, and because they're walking together. And Mariana's like, any luck? And Reva's like, yes, I had it blazing. It was so big and beautiful. And then I decided, I'm not feeling it, and I stomped it out. And I was like, this girl is the best. I love her. That would be me. I love the sass, and they all have like this little sassy retorts for each other. But Reva's are my favorite. You also find out whenever Claire and Mariana were off before that Mariana has a big family, and that she's from California, and like you hear her life story, but like shortened, and you find out that she came out to her family, and only like 2 or 3 people were like, My problem is they don't specify how she came out, and we don't know if what she. That sounds weird. You don't know if she's like a lesbian or if she's bi, and she hit on Jack when they were on the boat, and like so hardcore that he was like awkward about it. He's like and Reva's like, whoa, like don't scare the boy, like back off. Like Reva actually says that, and then later Mariana was like, but it's so fun to scare the boys. So I'm like, maybe she's bi, but it doesn't specify in their conversation, and I'm just assuming because what happens later. Yeah, so I'm just talking about the book. I'm not telling everything, and some of it's going to be spoilers, but yeah, because there's so much happens in this 9-hour book. It's like packed in there, and so much happens, and I love their conversations and their witty retorts, and so I just wanted to tell you. Mariana realizes the sticks isn't working. And Mariana's like, oh, batteries and a gum wrapper. And their other two girls are like, do you have batteries? And she's like, yeah. And she goes over and she gets her little nail dryer and pulls the batteries out of it. And they're like, that is what you brought to us, wilderness camp? And she's like, nail care is very important. And they're just like, well, thank goodness you had that. And so they use the gum wrapper and they fire. It's so cool. I was like, I want to try that. I don't have a reason to, but I want to try it. And about 5 seconds later, it starts raining. Yeah. So instead, they quickly dump out the lake water and they start collecting. They set up the jars to collect the rainwater instead, and then they go and they're trying to find a tree that's thick enough so they don't get wet. Well, they end up having to go down into the murder hole, as Mariana has deemed it, to stay out of the rain because it's so hard. And they leave the door because it's one of those manhole, like on the hinge. And Claire makes sure it's opened all the way. I'm not going to tell you everything, but they dry out some, they take off their wet clothes, they had their bags, and they put on the clothes that are less wet. And somehow the manhole manages to close. Was it wind? Who knows? And all three of them had to pull it open, so they aren't going to be going back that way. So they go into the cave. That scary cave that Claire was like, nope to. I'm not going to tell you everything that happens in that cave, but the light they're using is from their phones, and it's been over a day. And I don't know about you, but my phone dies in like a day and a half if I'm not using it. And it's just it's just on and I'm not using it, my phone will die in about a day and a half. Maybe 2 if I'm lucky, but I use my phone. I have to charge it sometimes halfway through the day. And yeah, so you can imagine that their phones may have died, and now they're in the dark, but it's okay because Claire's like, we can just feel for the wind and look for the light, and then that's the direction we're gonna go, because right before their phones died, they were looking for a hole to go through. Scary thing is, something's down there with them, and it's possibly supernatural, but I don't want to give that away, but it's kind of, the synopsis kind of gave that away, so it's something. So they finally find a way out, and they're climbing, and sometimes, because they can't see, and so sometimes Rava would accidentally grab Claire's ankle because they're climbing at all different rates, and Rava would be like, it's me. But earlier, when they first walked into the darkness, they're in single file, and Rava goes, Claire, I can hear you panicking, and it's stressing me out. And Claire said, oh, okay, I'll try to stress a little quiet. I'll try to panic a little quieter. That's my favorite part of the book, I think. So they get out, and then we meet a crazy man and a gunman. I'm not gonna tell you what happens, but of course they take off running. And, yeah. Then they get lost for a little bit, but they found their way back to where they started. No. Yes. Yes. And a boat comes back, and it's Jack. And Jack came back, and when they questioned him, oh, hold on. They spent a night lost, I believe, before this happens, because it's the next day. And, you hear the boat and they go running towards it, and then they're like, wait, what if it's someone dangerous? And so they're hiding, and they see Jack, and they're like, we're gonna take your boat, let's go, come on, we've been starving, come on, la, 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 la. And he's just like, what? And he's still walking towards camp, and then he sees that, and he's like, and they're like, come on, and they're like dragging him back. And Claire's like, wait, I think, and one of the girls is like, no, I don't want to hear it. And the other one's like, she's been right this whole time. And she's like, what if one of the other guys heard the boat too, and they're here, they're waiting for us. And, well, one of the guys did. He's on the boat, and we see Jack is like, hey, that's my boat, kind of like run out to it, and he gets shot at. And the boat, yeah, the gunman shot at him, and the boat takes off, and Jack is like in shock, and he keeps going, I can't believe it. He took my boat. He took my boat. He left us here. He took the boat. Like, he just like he keeps saying that. And they're like, well, there's nothing we can do. Do you have anything useful? Like, did you bring, like, I think Mariana says, did you bring cheeseburgers? Or is there cheeseburgers hiding in your bag? And he's like, no. And then they're like, wait, why are you even here? I thought you weren't supposed to be back until August. And he's like, well, Mariana said something about coming to see her, and I was gonna... Never mind. And she's like, oh. And the other two are like, oh. So yeah. And he knows a bunch of stuff about survival. He knows how to fish, he knows how to hunt, and stuff like that. And so it's like, okay, and they're going to use the net from the volleyball course to, like, for fishing and catching other things that are in the water. And he pulls out a giant knife. And I was like, no, I don't trust him. Don't trust him. Don't trust him. Why don't people ever listen in the books and in the movies? You say don't trust. Don't trust. Anyway, they all spend some time together. He teaches them how to, decide which blueberries are the blueberries to eat, how to cook the fiddlehead fern and dandelions. Dandelions, and how to properly gut a fish. So gross. So gross. And Mariana's like, is there a way that we can not catch the cute animals and only eat ugly animals? Hilarious. It's just like, I almost became vegan when I was a kid because I didn't understand that chicken, the animal, and chicken, the food, were the same thing until my aunt sat me down and she explained it to me. And I was like, oh my goodness. And when my kid was 2, we had, me and her had this moment, just like that. I had made chicken nuggets, I think it was, and I had put some on her plate, and I was eating chicken nuggets with her, and I was like, eat your chicken, and she goes, chicken bok bok. And I was like, I was like, yeah. Like, how do you explain it to a 2-year-old? I was like, yeah, it is, but it's okay. And she was like, and she like pushed her food away. So for a few days we had to eat other stuff. Kids are great. Anyway, so they think everything's gonna be okay. They're gonna just build a big fire the next day, and they don't tell Jack their idea, but before he arrived, they were thinking of just following the shoreline all the way back to where civilization is. They should have talked to Jack about this for real. But they didn't mention it to him. They were like, we'll just build a big fire and someone will come and see it. And Jack walks off to do something, lay traps or whatever. And Claire kind of follows him, and she's trying to practice being quiet in the woods. And she overhears him. And it sounds like he's having a conversation. And so, like, there are pauses, and she's like, is he talking to someone and I just don't hear them? Cell phones don't work, so I don't know what he's doing. And she doesn't question, like, she's like, hey, I thought I heard you talking to someone. And he was like, oh no, just myself. Sometimes I have conversations in my head. And she's like, oh yeah, I guess we all do. Yeah, I was just making sure you didn't have like a satellite phone or something. And he's like, nah, don't have anything useful. And she's like, well, you had that knife. No, I don't have, no. So Claire drops it, but she asks Rava what she thinks of Jack, and Rava's like, what do you think of Jack? And that kind of made me pause for a minute, because I read a book a while back, and the girl had multiple personalities, and so she had, it was one of those you can't trust the narrator books, and so I paused for a moment and I was like, no, because how would she have gotten here? We're good. I was like, I had that moment. It was a weird book. I don't even remember what it was called. Anyway, and so Rava mentions it to Mariana, and of course Mariana likes this guy, so she's like, oh. And they do catch a fish. Yay! And other stuff happens, and later on, Jack goes off to set some little snares, and Claire follows, and she's like, I have to apologize to you. I thought you were talking to someone, and he's like, oh no, it's cool. I was just talking myself up because I thought I came here for Mariana, but it's you. And she's like, and she thinks this is weird, but she's trying to, like, not go with her negative thoughts. So she's standing there, and she's letting him talk to her. And over his shoulder, she sees Reva and Mariana sneaking up to his bag. And I was like, yes! And he like leans over and he kisses her, and she lets him kiss. And he's got his eyes closed, and he's like all dramatic with it. And she's like watching them, and one of them pulls out a satellite phone, and she's like, oh. It was funny. And then he threatens her with that very big knife. I don't know where he pulled it from, because he didn't have it when it was walking towards her, and his bag was over there, and so maybe it was in his pocket. I don't know. But the knife is up against her neck. And this very dramatic moment happens where the phone rings before they can make a call, and they blah, 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 blah about being trapped on the island, and Jack is like, give me the phone. And they give the phone, but he doesn't release Claire. And he's talking, and he's like, Dad. Turns out, Dad is the gunman. That is a spoiler. Sorry. I'll have to put spoiler coming in the corner before I spoil, for this video. Anyway. And he's like, let the girls go, help them find a way off, blah, blah, blah. They don't deserve to be away from their families and all of this stuff. And then you hear a shot ring out, and it's very dramatic to everyone. Even though the girls were like, this guy is bad, they're like, oh my gosh. Because you find out, you had found out that Jack's dad was the only person he had. And so it's like, even if he's a terrible person, Jack didn't deserve to hear him complete suicide. And you find out later why he did it. Which the girls speculate lots of different things. They get away, by the way, because Jack is like, no, and that Claire slips out, and all the girls take off running, and Jack is like, I'm gonna get you. So now they're running from Jack, and there's still the crazy guy somewhere out there. From there on is when supernatural stuff starts happening. They saw that somebody piled up all of the SOS rocks that Mariana had put out on top of the manhole. That after it had gotten slammed closed. So it wasn't the wind. And so they're running, and it starts storming, and thank goodness, Jack won't be able to track us in this. There's a fall. A very far fall. Down, down, down. And I think at that moment, Jack's like, they're probably dead. And he just goes back to camp. Obviously, because this book is longer than that, the girls did not die, but someone did break an arm. I'm not gonna tell you who. I am gonna say that when they landed and Claire got up, and she finds both the other girls, and she's trying to breathe, but she can't breathe, and she's seeing black spots, and she sees the person that has the broken arm, And she's like, oh my gosh, it's broken. I know. And she like starts hyperventilating and she passes out. And when she comes to, she starts crying and she's like, I'm sorry. And the girls are like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? Like, making sure, because, you know, she could have passed out because she has a broken rib or something and it punctured her lungs. You don't know. And she's like, I'm broken. And they're like, where? And she's like, my brain. This happens all the time. I don't know how I've been holding it together this well for this many days. And one of the girls was like, okay, well, did you find it right now? Because we gotta go hide. And she's like, yeah, I'm okay for the moment. And so they find someplace to hide. It's a giant tree trunk. At least that's how I read it. I feel like they're like inside of a tree. That's and Claire again apologizes, and she is told that she is one of the main reasons they had survived as long as they have, because it's been like 3 or 4 days now. Oh, maybe even 5. How many sleeps did they have? Anyway, they've been there for a while, and that she's the only reason why that they've survived this long, because, you know, Reva would have just drank the lake water. Because she was like, it's water. Mariana, we do find out that Mariana likes cars, and she knows how to work on them. And she brings that up a few times. And yeah, so she's told that she is not broken and that she is acceptable the way she is. And it's like a relief to Claire, because her parents and her friends at school, like the people she's gone to school with her whole life, have always acted like she was weird. Like, no one wants her at the birthday parties. Every time she tries to have a friend, she ends up spouting something off, and they're like, and she's not allowed over at their house anymore. And this started happening when she was like a little kid. So she's just been kind of shunned her whole life. The only person who's ever truly understood her is her grandpa. And you do see a nice little flashback about her grandpa, and it's so sweet. And from here on, things sort of get a little... because they splint the arm, they find a river, they start walking because they're completely lost, and they find the shore, they find mussels, they start walking, they realize, Claire and Reva realize that if the birds stop making noise, they need to move, because something bad is coming their way or is here. And so they start following the shoreline. It's fuzzy, like the clouds, it's very cloudy, it's very like not foggy where it's like down where you can, but like higher up fog. But they're following the shoreline. They're like, we're gonna walk, because when they finally find the shore, they can see the dock way over there, and they're like, okay. And so they're gonna walk the opposite direction. They find mussels to eat, and then, you know, other vegetation that they're allowed to eat, and they're drinking rainwater from leaves. And remember how I said there was no roads leading to camp? It's an island. It's an island. They walked all the way around this island and ended up back at the dock. And Claire is like, this isn't possible. No, this is not right. No. No. Did we get turned around? We've been a little, like, lacking the food and water. Maybe we're delusional. Yeah, it's an island. And you find out about the crazy man they ran into. I don't know if I want to tell you. He kidnaps Jack, right from his sight, and takes him back, like, and the girls are following him. And he has to know they're following him because he slows down until they see him, and then he speeds up again. And they're like, look, just let us have his backpack. You can keep him, just let us get the backpack. And the guy is looking at them, and he starts spouting out, like, Claire is right in front of him. And he says her mom's name. And she's like, how do you know my mom? And he's like, is your dad so-and-so? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, well, look at that. They did get married. And she's just like, and he's like, and I bet you and your parents went here too, didn't they? And sure enough, one of each of their parents had come here. Their parents went to the camp 25 years ago, and the parents were all told them the same thing. This camp will change your life. It was the best thing that ever happened to us. You learned so much. I believe the quote each of them got was, you'll learn new skills, make new friends, and gain new experiences. Each of them heard that same exact line from all of their parents. And you find out that the reason why. I'm not going to tell you the reason why, because you're going to have to read the book. I've already gone on for like 40, 50 minutes. And, yeah. So, this is the supernatural reason. They're there, and I've decided that their parents subconsciously have been training their kids this whole time. Each of them were forced to do certain things educational-wise. It's the reason why Claire loves books. It's the reason why Reva took martial arts. It's the reason why Mariana's parents were like, learn to do outdoor things. It's the reason why Claire's parents were trying to push her to do more outdoorsy things. It's the reason why these kids kind of resent their parents. Anyway, so they've decided that they're not going to let this being have Jack, and there's a scuffle. They get the old man away from them, and he falls down the cave that they crawled out of earlier. It should have killed him. Should have. The man should have died. And Claire tries to rationalize why he didn't. And Raven's like, his bones are sticking out of his legs and his brain is showing. He's dead. Whatever he is. Anyways, they save Jack. They're like, we can't be our parents and leave someone behind for this thing. AKA the guy was a kid that their parents left behind, but later you find out that the parents don't even remember that kid. Like, the name sounds familiar because they read that he went missing in the papers. That's all they know. And they Jack is unconscious. He got hit in the head very hard when the man came to get him. And he's like, ugh, barely coming to move his feet. And so they find the boat that washed ashore. Thank goodness Jack is unconscious, because he probably would have been very upset. Because if the boat washed ashore, his dad's body is somewhere on the island. And they hatch this plan that they're going to break the engine out and lure the man who now has the spirit in his body down the hole, and Claire's gonna go down there because she's gonna give herself up, and she set some traps so that the man would get stuck, and she would climb out the hole, and as soon as she was free, they were gonna start the engine and drop the engine down on the man, and it was gonna explode, which, I mean, they can explode if because it's an in-water tank, or it's the water cools the tank or something like that. I don't remember. Mariana explains it, and it explodes. It does. But the girls find their way back to camp, and they're trying to hide the evidence of the door. They go and they make sure that it doesn't look like there was an actual explosion, like they get rid of the rubbish, so that when they are rescued, no one goes and looks there. Then they go back to the camp, and they see fish, and they cut it open, and they cook it, and everything is happy-go-lucky, and they make the fire real big, and then, what's it called? The water police. Oh my goodness. Anyway, come, and they're like, oh, we've been stranded here for so long, and she rushes them to the hospital, and they're explaining that, they were told that this was a camp, like a summer camp, and she's like, oh my goodness, and she freaks out, and she's asking them all these, she asks them all these questions, the police ask questions, the hospital asks questions, and they keep getting stuck on who took them, who drove them, or drove the boat to the island to drop them off. And Claire talks to her mom, and she's like, hey, did you know this guy? Or her parents. And they're like, oh yeah, I remember him. He went home early or something, And Claire's like, well, thank goodness we're not forgetting anyone, And so she hangs up with them, and she's sitting there, and she's like, but who did drive the boat? Was it the gunman? And she's going through what it could be, and then she goes to the two other girls, and she asks them some questions.
Yeah, it's my pony trainer.
And then,
Okay.
And then Claire's like, we're forgetting something. We gotta go back. Thank you. Oh, thank you. She's like, we gotta go back to the island. We're forgetting someone. There's gotta be someone else. She was like, there's no way I already knew how to cut open a fish the way I did, and where did we get the satellite phone? And all, she's going through all of the how. And so they're walking, they convinced the lady to take them back, and they're walking along, and they find him. They find Jack, and he survives, and it was all yay. And then they go. And the girls go and eat pizza and they promise each other to always come get together at the same time of year to have pizza together and take lots of pictures. And the ending is just like so sweet. I'm like, oh. And one of the girls was like, but not camping. No islands. And she's like, well, maybe Mariana's like, maybe we go camping, but like close enough to a civilization that we can walk to it. So that was only like half of the details of the book, and I've probably almost hit an hour. So I'm gonna stop here and say again, I really enjoyed this book, and I'm glad that I got another book read off of my 2024 reading challenge. So yay! And I'm going to tell you that I've finished another book on my 2024 preteen teen reading challenge. I finished A Wrinkle in Time, so be looking for that video. I am currently reading Beyond the Isles of the Lost. Me and my kid are reading a chapter a night. I got it from the library. This is the Wonderland book by Melissa De La Cruz.
I don't know.
This is about
I don't know.
the Queen of Hearts and her daughter. We're only 3 chapters in, and it's super cute. I like this. I am on book 9 of Fruits Basket, or volume 9. I don't want to give it away because I want to talk about all of them at once, but this one is when things start getting really good. I am reading Stephen King's Fairy Tale, which is number 7 on the reading challenge, and the next book that I'm going to listen to is Dark Matters by Blake Crouch. We'll see how that goes. And the next book that I'm reading / listening to on the Preteen Teen Challenge is Anne of Green Gables, because I have a book that was in like the kids section. It has like pictures in it, and I want to see how different the book is from the kid book is from the real book, and I'll do a video on that also later in life, but be looking for A Wrinkle of Time. And that's all I have to talk about right now. What? I love you. I'm gonna finish my coffee, and then I'll make the video on A Wrinkle in Time, but I think it's probably time for my kid because it's been an hour. And yeah, so like this video if you like my videos. Comment below, have you read The Lake House by Sarah Beth Drust? And what did you think about it? Because I loved it. It is like, I want more. I want an after story. And if you have any recommendations on books, let me know in the comment section, because I am starting to gather book ideas for next year's reading challenges, including the kid challenge. Please, and subscribe. You don't have to subscribe, but I would appreciate it because well, it lets me know that you like my videos. And you'll never miss a video if you subscribe, because then you don't have to go looking for it. You just hit your subscription and then find me. If you're not sure if you want to subscribe, click my face. It'll be down here somewhere. And check out my other videos. I make videos on activities. I make videos on Amazon reviews, like I review stuff from Amazon. I do book reviews for kid books and adult books and paper pie books, because I'm a paper pie consultant. And if you want any of the books that I've talked about, I will have a link in the description for each book. If you click the link, it'll take you to Amazon, and I get a few pennies if you buy a book. If you buy using my link. It's not much, but eventually I'll have enough to buy a book. And me and my kiddo were obsessed with books. I want all the books in the whole entire world. At least all the ones in English. Maybe some books in Spanish. I know some Spanish. I'm not great at it though. And I don't know all the words, so. And share this video because sharing is caring and someone else might need to know about this book. I loved it. It was adventurous and fun and sassy and thrilling and a little bit spooky. That is all I have to say. It's a great summertime read, and I will see you on my next video. Bye!